as Indiana falls 85-70 at home to Northwestern. You know that Indiana has now lost 4 of their last 5 at home. Or they lost to Nebraska, excuse me. They lost 4 of their last 5 at home. They have lost to Penn State at home, Northwestern at home, and tonight, Nebraska at home. And what I will say is this. You guys know I have a very checkered history with my guy Mike effing Woodson, but I will tell you there are whispers, maybe it's just on the internet, there are whispers that Mike Woodson might not be around for very long, okay? And so quick backstory here, Indiana loses on Wednesday night 85-70 to Nebraska, excuse me. I keep saying Northwestern, they lost to Northwestern over the weekend. And for people who don't know the long lineage, the long history of Torres and Woodson, goes back to a magical time called the spring of 2021 when Indiana couldn't find a head coach. And when Indiana eventually settled on Mike Woodson, I was very critical of the hire, okay? I was very critical of the hire because I just thought in the NIL portal world that we were entering, I didn't really know that the way you wanted to go, the angle you wanted to take was to hire a 62, 63-year-old guy at the time who had been out of college sports for 40 years. So I said, what are you doing, Indiana? I think the exact quote I had was, Indiana's officially a football school. I said, imagine being an AD, working your whole career to hire Mike Woodson. And I got crushed for it. I got criticized. I was on message boards, whatever. I bring it up because Mike Woodson has been pretty good over the last couple years. And specifically, I flipped my tune on Mike Woodson that first offseason. Because that offseason, the whole team entered the portal, and he convinced Trace Jackson Davis, who didn't really enter the portal, but to return to college. Race Thompson to remove himself from the portal, come back to college. Jordan Geronimo, on and on and on. And so I was always, so I've been like pro Mike Woodson and kind of impressed of how he's handled this new world of college basketball. Got a bunch of players out of the portal, re-recruited guys that were considering the NBA, and he has done a very good job in recruiting. Jalen Hood-Schifino last year, Kalel Ware this offseason, Mackenzie Mbako, he beat Kansas head-to-head for, Liam McNeely, a McDonald's All-American this year. So I've been in favor of him. I've liked him. I've liked what he's done. It's worth noting he has gone to the NCAA tournament in back-to-back years. Also worth noting he's won an NCAA tournament game in back-to-back years. 2 years ago, it was technically in the play-in round, or they call it the first 4, whatever. It was a play-in game. They beat Wyoming. Last year, they win their opener before losing to Miami, who goes to a Final Four. So I bring it up because everything seemed to be going good for Mike Woodson. Everybody likes him, whatever. But it has completely gone off the rails over the last couple weeks. They now have lost 3 in a row right now, and they have lost 7 of their last 9, only wins to Iowa at home, to Ohio State, who, of course, just fired Chris Holtmann. And what I will say, I'm not saying that I agree with it, but you're starting to hear just a few whispers that maybe our boy Mike effing Woodson ain't built for the long haul. Okay, so to be clear, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think he will be out after this year, but you're starting to hear some chatter on the internet. And really, I think it's for 3 different reasons. 1, it's because the team isn't playing well, and really it's the style of play. 2, it's obviously his age. And 3, there's starting to be whispers about, maybe there being the right replacement that's available right now. So with Mike Woodson, what I would say is a couple things. 1, part of Indiana fans' frustrations is twofold. They're 14-12 this year, which simply isn't going to get the job done, okay? They're now 6-9 in the Big Ten. They are tied. They're really, what is this? So there's 14 teams in the Big Ten. So they are tied for 10th right now in the standings. But what stands out about this Indiana team is not just that they're losing, but 1, they're losing to teams that I don't care if they're improved, Indiana should not lose to. Indiana should not get swept by Nebraska. They got swept this year. They should not lose at home to Penn State ever under any circumstances that happen. They should not lose to Northwestern, even if Northwestern is actually pretty good this year. So that's 1. 2, the other thing that's going on at Indiana that is very interesting, they are having trouble, like the style of play issues are coming up the same way that it's come up at other places. This was an issue with Kentucky the last few years. It's been an issue at Arkansas this year. They play kind of like that old school style, like big, athletic, but they don't really shoot the ball well. You know, Indiana is one of the worst shooting teams in college basketball. And I'll take it a step further. Not only are they one of the worst shooting teams, they don't even attempt three-pointers. Looked it up. They are currently 342nd out of about 360 teams in terms of three-point attempts per game. They only hit about 32%. And so Indiana fans are like, we're losing. We play a bad brand of basketball. It's outdated. It's not working. And I think the other variable for Indiana, fair or not, there is like a legitimate candidate that is available to them right now. It is their former student manager, Dusty May, the head coach at Florida Atlantic. And so if you kind of poke around in the college hoops circles, what's really interesting is you're starting to get this weird vibe of like, are they going to force Woodson out because they're afraid they're going to lose out on Dusty May? And so really quickly, for people who don't know, Dusty May, head coach, Florida Atlantic. As you may remember, Florida Atlantic went to the Final Four last year. And the big narrative, Dusty May, Florida Atlantic head coach, was a student manager under Bob Knight a million years ago. And so now he comes back to Florida Atlantic. They were ranked in the top 25 up until this week. They're going to make a second straight NCAA tournament. And the buzz is like he'll probably take another job this year. Like he stayed at Florida Atlantic that extra year, but now's the time to get the big payday. Where's he going to go? Da-da-da-da-da, and this and that. And so I think Indiana is in a tough position. Probably not quite ready to get rid of Mike Woodson. But at the same time, the counter is if you keep him, you might lose out on what you deem to be their dream candidate. Now, I don't think he's like the best candidate in the world. Like, I don't think he should be the number one candidate at Louisville. I don't think he should be the number one candidate at Ohio State. But I do think if Indiana can get him, you at least have to think about it. So Mike Woodson takes a brutal loss. He even did an interview this week where he was kind of asked about his age. I saw it with Sports Illustrated. And he basically said, I came back to try to put this team in the best position possible. I'm going to continue to try to do that. I'm almost 66, but I feel good and I still move around. And he kind of said, I don't plan on doing this forever. And so it's kind of like if you're Indiana and you have a chance to get out now on a coach that's about to be 66 to hire a guy that's 20 years younger, do you consider it? I don't know. But Indiana takes the loss on Wednesday night.